lowering her voice. Just call me Mata. I couldn't help but notice how you treat your girlfriend. You seem like a man that knows how to take care of his woman. And I admire that. Tunde stared at her. There was something about the way she said those words that felt more like an invitation than a compliment. Vickie and Tunde met in their first ever uni class. It was GST, a general course all 100-level students took. After taking several wrong directions, Vickie finally arrived at the hall, exhausted and just wanted to sit down. But as she scanned the hall, all the seats seemed taken. She began to make mental calculations of possible empty spaces when she noticed a hand waving her over. Vickie paused, still catching her breath from her hurried walk. The hall was abuzz with chatter of students, all of whom seemed to know exactly where they were going. Unlike her, the weight of the morning frustration began to lift as she noticed a hand waving in her direction. "Me?" she mouthed, pointing to herself in disbelief. The guy nodded, his smile broadening. Vickie felt a wave of relief as she made her way towards him, dodging a few scattered backpacks and hastily closed notebooks along the way. "Hi," he greeted her warmly, his voice calm amidst the chaos of the room. "I saved you a seat." "Thanks," Vickie replied, grateful as she slid into the chair. She let out a sigh of relief, the tension in her shoulders finally easing. "I thought I had to stand the entire class." "Yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming," he said, leaning back slightly in his seat. "I'm Tunde, by the way." "Vickie," she responded, offering a smile as she adjusted her bag under the desk. The lecturer, a stern-looking man in his late 40s, began calling the class to order, and the noise in the room gradually subsided. The class dragged on, filled with introduction to the course structure, grading system, and an endless list of books to buy. Vickie's attention wavered as she tried to process everything the lecturer was saying. Today, sensing her distraction, slid a piece of paper towards her. "Boring, right?" She glanced at the notes, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. She scribbled back quickly. "Extremely. I thought university was supposed to be exciting." "Only if you survive GST," he wrote, with a small drawing of a gravestone next to the text. Vickie had to bite her lip to stifle a laugh. Tunde's casual demeanor made the overwhelming experience a bit bearable. As the lecture drowned on, they continued to exchange notes, each one filled with light-hearted jokes and observations about the lecturer and the class. Finally, the lecturer dismissed them, and the hall erupted in noise as everyone gathered their turns to leave. Vickie turned to Tunde, feeling a little more relaxed now that the first class was over. "Thanks for the seat and the company," she said, slinging her bag over her shoulder. "No problem, I figured we freshers have to stick together," Tunde replied, his easy smile never wavering. "You're heading anywhere now?" Vickie shook her head. "Not really. I was just going to try and figure out where my next class is." "How about we figure it out together?" "I'm a bit lost myself," Tunde suggested, a hint of humor in his voice. Vickie laughed softly. "Sure, why not?" As they walked out of the hall, Vickie couldn't help but feel a small sense of excitement. Maybe university wouldn't be so bad after all. Before they parted ways, Tunde pulled out his phone. "Hey, why don't we exchange numbers, in case we need to navigate more confusing classes together?" "Good idea," Vickie agreed, taking out her phone and typing in his number. "Great, I'll text you later," Tunde said, giving her a quick wave as he headed off in the opposite direction. As Vickie walked to her next class, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. The day might have started out rough, but meeting Tunde had turned it around. Maybe there was something more to this first encounter, something worth looking forward to, she thought. Later that afternoon, Vickie found herself wandering around the campus, trying to decide where to eat. The sun was high in the sky and her stomach grumbled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since breakfast. As she walked past the small canteen, the smell of fried plantains and jollof rice wafted through the air, making her decision easy. She stepped inside, the cool air providing a welcome relief from the heat outside. The canteen was bustling with students, all jostling for a space in line or searching for an empty table. Vickie managed to grab a tray and joined the line, her eyes scanning the menu above the counter. She was just about to place her order when the familiar voice called her out behind her. Vickie! She turned around, surprised to see Tunde standing there with a tray in her hand. He looked equally surprised, though pleased to see her. Tunde, what are the odds? She asked, smiling at the coincidence. I know, right? Looks like we have the same taste in food, Tunde replied, glancing at her tray. Mind if I join you? Not at all, Vickie said, stepping forward to place her order. They both ordered jollof rice with fried plantain and chicken. And after paying, they made their way to a small table by the window. As they settled into their seats, Tunde leaned back and sighed contentedly. This place has the best jollof on campus. You made a good choice. Glad to hear it, Vickie said, taking a bite of the rice. It was flavorful and spicy, just the way she liked it. So how's the rest of your day been? Not too bad. I managed to find my way to my other classes. So I'll say that's a win, Tunde said, with a grin. How about you? Get lost again? Vickie chuckled, almost, but I'm still figuring things out. It's just a lot to take in, you know. Yeah, it can be overwhelming, Tunde agreed. But we'll get the hang of it eventually. It's all part of the experience. As they ate, their conversations flowed easily, moving from their classes to more personal topics. Tunde told Vickie about his family, how he was the youngest of 3 boys, and the first to attend university. Vickie shared stories about her own family, her parents' expectations, and the pressures she felt to succeed. They laughed over stories of high school mishaps and bonded over their shared love of music and movies. The more they talked, the more Vickie realized how comfortable she felt around Tunde. He had a way of making her forget about the stress of the day, and she found herself genuinely enjoying his company. So, what do you do for fun around here? Vickie asked as they finished their meal. Honestly, I'm still figuring that out, Tunde admitted. But I heard there's a good spot near the library where people hang out. Maybe we could check it out sometime. Vickie nodded. Sounds like a plan. I'm up for exploring. As they left the canteen, Tunde walked with Vickie to her next class, continuing their conversation. By the time they reached the lecture hall, the sun was starting to dip, casting long shadows across the campus. Thanks for the company, Vickie said, pausing at the entrance to the hall. Anytime, Tunde replied, his smile warm. I'll see you around, Vickie. See you, Tunde, she responded, waving as he walked away. Vickie watched him go, feeling a sense of contentment. She had started the day unsure and overwhelmed, but now, she felt like she was beginning to find her footing. Meeting Tunde had been unexpected, but was turning out to be one of the highlights of her first day at university. The following week was a whirlwind of new classes and assignments, but Vickie's thoughts kept drifting back to Tunde. She had tried calling him several times, but each time, the calls didn't go through. She even tried sending messages, but none were delivered. It was frustrating and a sense of unease began to settle in. Maybe he gave me the wrong number, she thought, frowning as she stared at her phone. But that didn't make sense. He had seemed genuinely interested in keeping in touch. Still, the longer she went without hearing from him, the more she wondered if she had read the situation wrong. Maybe he's just not interested anymore. Maybe he's ghosting me. Vickie shook her head, trying to push the thoughts away. But they lingered, gnawing at the back of her mind. She couldn't help but replay their conversations, wondering if she had said something that might have put him off. As the days passed, her initial excitement about university was dampened by her worry about Tunde. She found herself glancing at her phone more often than she liked to admit, hoping for a text or a missed call, but nothing came. The following Monday, Vickie arrived early for her next GST class, determined to put the whole situation out of her mind. She settled into a seat near the front, trying to focus on her notes, but just as the class was about to start, she saw him. Tunde walked in looking a little pale, but still wearing that familiar smile. He scanned the room and caught her eye, raising a hand to wave. Vickie felt her heart skip a beat, but instead of waving back, she quickly turned away and pretended not to see him. She could feel his eyes on her as he moved closer, but she kept her focus on her notes in front of her, determined not to let him know how much his absence had bothered her. Tunde hesitated for a moment before sitting directly behind her. As the lecture began, Vickie tried to concentrate, but she was too aware of his presence. A few minutes into the lecture, she felt a light tap on her shoulder. Hi bestie, if you're watching to this point, please subscribe. Turn on your post notifications to always be notified when I post a new video. And please don't skip my ads, they really help this channel. Share and yeah, back to the story. She ignored it at first, but then a folded piece of paper appeared on her desk. She sighed and unfolded it. Vickie, is everything okay? She stared at the note for a moment before scribbling back a quick response. I should be asking you that. She passed the note back and held the rustle of paper as he unfolded it. A few moments later, another note appeared on her desk. I'm really sorry about that. I've been sick and my phone died. I only just got it working again today. Vickie had softened at his words, and guilt washed over her for jumping to conclusions. She quickly wrote back, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you feeling better now? His reply came almost immediately. Yeah, I'm doing better. It was just a bad flu. I didn't mean to worry you. Vickie felt the weight lift off her shoulders. She turned slightly in her seat and glanced back at him. Tunde gave her a small apologetic smile, and she couldn't help but smile back. I'm glad you're okay, she wrote, passing the notes back. The rest of the class passed in a blur as they exchanged notes, slowly easing back into the comforts they had shared before. After class, Vickie walked out with Tunde, feeling much lighter than she had in days. I was really worried when I couldn't reach you, she admitted, as they walked across the campus. I'm sorry about that, Tunde said, looking genuinely remorseful. I should have found a way to let you know what was going on. It's okay, Vickie said, giving him a reassuring smile. Just glad you're alright, but you still look a bit pale. Are you sure you're feeling better? Yeah, I'm alright, just need a little bit more rest, Tunde replied. The flu really took it out of me. If you need anything, just let me know, Vickie offered. Tunde hesitated and nodded. Actually, would you like to come by my place this weekend? It would be nice to have some company. Vickie agreed and they set a time for her to visit. As the weekend approached, she found herself looking forward to seeing him again. She picked up some provisions, fruits, drinks, and a few other items, hoping to help him recover faster. When she arrived at Tunde's room in the hostel, she was struck by how bare it was. The room was small with just a bed, a table, and a few personal items scattered around. There were no decorations, no extra comforts. It was a stark contrast to the comfortable, well-furnished room she had. Tunde welcomed her with a tired but genuine smile. Hey, thanks for coming, he said, motioning for her to sit down. Vickie set the provisions on the table, feeling a pang of sadness as she took in her surroundings. You didn't tell me you were staying in a place like this, she said softly. Tunde shrugged, sitting on the edge of the bed. It's not much, but it's what I can afford right now. My family isn't exactly well off, so I'm doing the best I can. Vickie's heart ached for him. She had never really thought about where he came from, but now it was clear that Tunde wasn't just another student. He was someone who was working hard to make it. Despite the challenges he faced, you're doing great, Tunde, she said, her voice full of sincerity. I'm really proud of you. Tunde looked at her, surprised by the intensity of her words. Thanks, Vickie. That means a lot. They spent the afternoon talking, Vickie learning more about Tunde's life and the struggles he faced. He was determined to succeed, to make something of himself despite the odds. And as Vickie listened, she realized that she admired him even more for it. Before she left, Vickie placed her hand over his. If you ever need anything, just let me know, okay? We're in this together. Tunde looked at her, a mixture of gratitude and something deeper in his eyes. Thank you, Vickie. I don't know what I'll do without you. As she walked back to her hostel, Vickie felt a warmth spreading through her. This was more than just a casual friendship. She knew, deep down, that something special was growing between them, something real and lasting. Over the next few weeks, Vickie and Tunde grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. What started as a simple friendship had blossomed into something much more. They spent their days attending classes together, studying in the library and exploring the campus. But it was in the quiet moments, when it was just the two of them, that their connection truly flourished. One evening, as they sat on a bench near the library, watching the sun set over the campus, Tunde turned to Vickie, his expression serious. "Vickie, there's something I'll need to talk to you about," he began, his voice low. Vickie felt her heart skip a bit. "What is it, Tunde?" "I've been thinking about us a lot," he said, searching for the right words. "You're the best thing that's happened to me since I got here, and I don't want to lose what we have." "You won't," Vickie assured him, reaching for his hand. "We're in this together, remember?" Tunde nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "I want us to be more than just friends, Vickie. I just want to be with you if you have me." Vickie felt a rush of warmth spread through her. She had been hoping for this moment, but hearing him say the words made her heart sore. "I want that too, Tunde," she said softly, leaning in closer. Their relationship became official that evening, sealed with a kiss under the fading light of the day. From that moment on, they were inseparable. As their relationship deepened, Vickie began to notice how much Tunde struggled financially. He rarely mentioned it, but she could see it in the little things. How he hesitated before buying lunch, or how he avoided social outings that required spending money. It bothered her knowing that he was holding back because of something as trivial as money. One day, after they had lunch together, Vickie decided to bring it up. "Tunde, I've noticed that you've been a bit careful with your spending. Is everything alright?" Tunde sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's just things are tight right now. My family's doing their best to support me, but there's only so much they can do. I don't want to be a burden to anyone." "You're not a burden, Tunde," Vickie said, her tone firm but kind. "We're in this together, remember? Let me help you out." Tunde hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the idea. "Vickie, I don't want you to feel like you have to. I'm not doing this because I have to," she interrupted gently. "I want to. I care about you, Tunde, and if I can make things a little easier for you, then I will." After some persuasion, Tunde finally agreed to let Vickie help. She started by buying extra groceries and bringing them over to his place, making sure his room was stocked with essentials. She also covered the cost of some of their dates, insisting that he didn't need to worry about it. It wasn't just about the money, it was about showing Tunde that he wasn't alone. Vickie wanted him to know that she was there for him no matter what. One Saturday afternoon, Vickie was at Tunde's place, helping him with an assignment, when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's my mom," he said, answering the call. "Hello, ma." Vickie watched as Tunde's expression grew more serious. He stood up and walked to the window, listening intently to whatever his mother was saying. After a few minutes, he sighed heavily. "I understand, ma. I will see what I can do," Tunde said before ending the call. "What's wrong?" Vickie asked, concern evident in her voice. Tunde ran a hand through his hair, clearly stressed. "It's my younger sister. She needs some money for her school fees. And my mom doesn't have enough to cover it right now. I want to help, but I just don't have the money." Vickie didn't hesitate. "How much do you need?" Tunde looked at her surprised. "Vickie, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking, I'm offering," Vickie said firmly. "How much, Tunde?" After a moment of silence, Tunde finally told her the amount. Without missing a beat, Vickie pulled out her phone and transferred the money to his account. "Vickie, I don't know what to say," Tunde said, his voice filled with emotion. "I didn't expect you to do this. You don't have to say anything," she replied, wrapping her arms around him. "I love you, Tunde, and that means I'm here for you and your family." Tunde hugged her tightly, burying his face in her shoulder. "I love you too, Vickie, more than you know." As their relationship progressed, Vickie continued to support Tunde in every way she could. She helped him with his studies, encouraged him to pursue his dreams, and stood by his side through every challenge. And in return, Tunde loved her fiercely, showing her every day just how much she meant to him. Their love was strong. Vickie never once regretted helping Tunde financially, knowing that what they had was worth more than anything money could buy. And as they navigated the ups and downs of university life, their bond only grew stronger. Vickie and Tunde were celebrating their 3-year anniversary at a cozy cafe. The atmosphere around them was intimate. The evening was perfect, the kind that made everything else fade into the background. I can't believe it's been 3 years, Vickie said, smiling at Tunde across the table. Time has really flown by. It really has, Tunde agreed, reaching across the table to take her hand. But I wouldn't trade a single moment of it. Vickie had fluttered at his words, and she squeezed his hand. Her eyes shining with affection, neither would I. As they continued their meal, sharing stories and laughing over fond memories, Vickie felt a deep contentment settle over her. She was happy, truly deeply happy. After all they've been through, their love had only grown stronger. I'm going to freshen up, Vickie said, excusing herself as she stood up from the table. I'll be right back. Tunde nodded, watching her go with a soft smile on his face. He turned his direction back to the desserts menu, trying to decide what they should order next. But before he could make a decision, a voice interrupted his thoughts. Excuse me, young man. Tunde looked up to see an elegant older woman standing by his table. She was impeccably dressed in a designer suit, her jewelry subtle yet clearly expensive. Her dark hair was perfectly styled, and her presence commanded attention. Yes, can I help you? Tunde asked politely, feeling slightly puzzled by her sudden approach. The woman smiled, and there was something in her eyes that made Tunde uneasy. I couldn't help but notice you and your girlfriend, she began, her tone smooth. You both look so happy together. Thank you, Tunde replied cautiously, unsure of where this conversation was headed. The woman's smile widened, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Martha, and I must say, you're a very handsome young man. Tunde unease grew as he tried to gauge her intentions. Thank you, Miss Martha. Is there anything or something you wanted to talk about? Martha's expression softened, and she took a step closer, lowering her voice. Just call me Martha. I couldn't help but notice how you treat your girlfriend. You seem like a man that knows how to take care of his woman, and I admire that. Tunde stared at her. There was something about the way she said those words that felt more like an invitation than a compliment. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, trying to keep his tone respectful. I do my best, he replied carefully. Martha's gaze lingered on him, as if she was appraising him. I can see that, but tell me, Tunde, are you satisfied with the life you have? Or do you ever wonder what it would have been to have more? Tunde's eyes narrowed slightly. I'm happy with the life I have, he said firmly, his voice leaving no room for doubt. Martha tilted her head, a smile never faltering. I'm sure you are, but sometimes happiness can be fleeting, especially when life's challenges start to weigh you down. Wouldn't you agree? Tunde stiffened, sensing the underlying meaning behind the words. Martha's smile turned almost predatory, and she leaned in closer. I'm offering you a chance, Tunde. A chance to have more than you could ever imagine. Money, comfort, security, everything you could ever want. All you have to do is say yes. Tunde stared at her, his mind racing. He knew exactly what she was implying, and the thought of it made his stomach turn. But before he could respond, Martha continued. I can give you the life you've always dreamed of, Tunde. You don't have to struggle anymore. You could have everything you ever wanted and more. Tunde's jaw clenched as he fought to keep his composure. He didn't want to cause a scene, but the audacity of this woman was infuriating. I'm not interested, he said coldly, his voice laced with anger. Martha's eyes flashed with surprise, but she quickly regained her composure. Think about it, Tunde. This is a one-time offer. You could have it all. I already have everything I need, Tunde replied, his voice steady. And that's Vickie. Martha's smile finally faded, replaced by a look of disappointment. I see, she said, straightening up. Well, If you ever change your mind, she gave him a card. You know where to find me. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Tunde feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. He couldn't believe what had just happened. How easily she had tried to tempt him with promises of wealth and luxury, as if love and loyalty were nothing more than commodities to be traded. When Vickie returned to the table, she noticed the tension in Tunde's expression. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern raising her voice. Tunde forced a smile, not wanting to ruin their evening. "Yes, everything is fine," he said, reaching for her hand. "I'm just glad we have each other, Vickie." Vickie smiled, unaware of their encounter that had just taken place. "Me too, Tunde, me too." Days later, as Tunde laid in bed, just after a romantic call with Vickie, a call came in. "Mom?" Tunde called into the phone. "Brother Tunde, Mommy is sick," his sister Vero says. Tunde's heart pounded as he listened to his sister's voice on the phone. The gravity of the situation sinking in. He sat up abruptly, panic treading his voice. "How bad is it, Vero?" "Mom's been in and out of the hospital for the past few weeks. The doctors say it's more serious than we thought. We need money for our treatment, and we don't have enough," Vero explained, her voice trembling with concern. Tunde's mind raced. He was already stretched thin, helping with his sister's school fees and supporting his family as much as he could. The thought of asking Vickie for more help was painful, but he knew he had no choice. He took a deep breath and ended the call. The weight of the world seemed to settle on his shoulders as he dialed Vickie's number. His hand shook as he waited for her to pick up. "Hello, Tunde," Vickie answered cheerfully, but the cheerfulness in her voice was lost on him. "Vickie, I need to talk to you," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "My mom's condition has worsened. I need money for her treatment, and I don't know what to do." The silence on the other end was heavy. Vickie's voice, when it came, was soft and filled with concern. "Tunde, of course I'll help. How much do you need?" Tunde hesitated, feeling the weight of his decisions. He couldn't ignore the offer from Martha, but he had always promised Vickie he wouldn't compromise their relationship. "I'll call you back," he offered, and ended the call, making another phone call with Martha's card in his hands, his voice shaky. "Is the offer still on?" The following day, Tunde met with Vickie, who handed him the money without hesitation. Her eyes were filled with concern, and he could see how much she cared. "Please let me know if there's anything else I can do," she said, her voice full of support. "Thank you, Vickie," Tunde said, hugging her tightly. "But my dad called to tell me a good Samaritan had helped with the hospital expenses," he lied. As he left that place, his mind was a battlefield. The offer from Martha was still on the table, and his family's dire situation was weighing heavily on him. The next day, Tunde found himself outside the cafe where Martha had approached him. He was stunned, but he knew he needed to resolve this. Martha was waiting for him, her expression a mixture of curiosity and impatience. "Have you thought about my offer, Tunde?" she asked, her tone smooth. Tunde's stomach churned. "I need the money for my family. I can't keep struggling like this, and I don't know if I have another choice." Martha's eyes lit up. "I'm glad you've decided to take me up on my offer. I assure you it will solve all your problems." Tunde took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his decision. "Alright, I accept your offer." Back at his hostel, Tunde wrestled with his decision, the knowledge that he was betraying Vickie gnawing at him. He found himself unable to sleep, plagued by the thought of what he was about to do. When he met Martha again, she laid out the details of the arrangements. "You will have everything you need, money, security, just remember, you are mine," she said, handling him a substantial sum with a sly smile. "What about your husband?" Tunde asked, with worry in his voice. "I don't have a husband," Martha responded. "I am a widow, and my children are abroad. There's nothing to worry about," she continued, as she reached over to kiss Tunde. Tunde left the meeting with a heavy heart. The money would help his family, but the guilt of what he had done weighed heavily on him. The following week, Vickie couldn't shake the feeling that something was off with Tunde. His mood swings and sudden distance were becoming increasingly noticeable. One evening, as they sat together in Vickie's room, She gently broached the topic. Tunde, you seem distant lately. Is something bothering you? She asked, her voice filled with concern. Tunde forced a smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. I just got a lot on my mind. It's nothing to worry about. Vickie's voice deepened. You know you can tell me anything. I'm here for you. Tunde's heart raised. He wanted to open up, but feared Vickie's reaction. The growing distance between them was evident, and despite our efforts to close the gap, Vickie couldn't shake the feeling that she was being pushed away. As the days passed, Vickie noticed a transformation in Tunde. He flaunted new expensive gadgets and spotted stylish clothes. The change was stark, and when Vickie confronted him, he dismissed her concern with evasive excuses. One evening, as the late cuddled together, Vickie shared her excitement about her uncle's upcoming visit. My uncle is arriving soon. I haven't seen him in years and I can't wait for you to meet him. Tunde indifference stung. Oh, that's great, he mumbled, his attention clearly elsewhere. A few days later, Tunde announced he was traveling to visit his family for a couple of weeks. With tears in her eyes, Vickie bid him farewell at the car park, wishing him a safe journey. During his absence, their communication dwindled. Tunde claimed the network was bad, but Vickie was simply grateful for the sporadic calls that kept her connected to him. Finally, the day came for Vickie's uncle, Dayo, to arrive. Her heart raced with anticipation as she greeted him warmly at the airport. Why isn't Auntie here? Vickie teased playfully. I wanted to surprise her, Uncle Dayo chuckled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. As they arrived at Uncle Dayo's home, Vickie and her uncle quietly slipped inside, eager to surprise Auntie. They moved silently through the house, leaving the car parked some distance away. When they arrived in the living room, the sight that greeted them was a gut-wrenching shock. Tunde and Martha were entwined on the couch, their bodies pressed close. Vickie's breath caught in her throat. Tunde, what are you doing here? She stammered, her voice trembling. Tunde's face went pale as he scrambled to his feet. What are you doing here? Are you stalking me? He snapped, trying to mask his panic. Before Vickie could respond, Mr. Dayo entered the room. Martha quickly pushed Tunde away, her face flushed with embarrassment. Oni, welcome, she said, rushing towards him, only to be met with a firm push. Mr. Dayo's face contorted with a mix of shock and hurt as he took in the scene. Vickie's eyes widened in realization as she watched the emotional collision unfold before her. The room was thick with tension and the weight of the betrayal hung heavily in the air. The tension in the room as Vickie's heart shattered into pieces. Uncle Dayo's eyes burned with fury and disappointment. His voice, filled with a mix of anger and betrayal, cut through the silence. Martha, how could you? Uncle Dayo's voice was harsh as he stared at his wife. His disappointment evident. I thought you were someone I could trust. Martha's face flushed with embarrassment and regret. As she struggled to find words, Dayo, I didn't mean for this to happen. Before Martha could explain further, Uncle Dayo turned to Vickie, his expression softening with empathy. Vickie, I'm so sorry you had to see this. You deserve so much better. Tunde, who had been standing in the corner, tried to interject. Look, it's not what it seems. Vickie cut him off, her voice trembling with pain. I trusted you, Tunde. You were everything to me, and this is how you repay me? Uncle Dayo's eyes, once full of love for Martha, now held only contempt. I trusted her too, but she betrayed me, and that's something I can't overlook. Without another word, Uncle Dayo turned on his heel and walked away, leaving Martha behind. She stood there, stunned and desperate, but the door slammed shut behind him. Tunde, realizing the gravity of the situation, tried to salvage what he could. Vickie, please, I made a mistake. I'll make it right. But Vickie was already walking out the door, her resolve unshaken. There's nothing left to say, Tunde. You've lost me. As Vickie left, Tunde's words started crumbling around him. Martha, now left with nothing, was desperately trying to salvage her life. Uncle Dayo's decision to divorce her meant she was cut off from her former comforts and left to fend for herself. A betrayal had cost her everything. Tunde's attempts to reconnect with Vickie were in vain. She had moved on, focusing on her own healing and self-worth. Her support had been unwavering, and now it was clear he had lost someone irreplaceable. Tunde found himself at rock bottom, grappling with the consequences of his choices. His relationship with Vickie, his only true connection, was damaged. In the end, Tunde's action had cost him everything: a loving partner who had always been there for him, and the fleeting comfort of relationship built on deceit. The emptiness of his choices became his only companion, a stark reminder of the price of betrayal. Thanks for listening to this point, guys. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed making it. Please don't forget to like, leave a comment, and check out my other videos. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye, besties!